typically go into every year relatively optimistic about the year ahead, but 2026 feels similar to 2019 or 2012. I think that 2026 is the most opportunistic year. Real estate professionals, builders need us more than they ever have in this market. And it's really easy to stand out in challenging markets than it is when rates are 2 to 3%, because you just need a mortgage professional to show up at that point. December, we have a holiday party tonight, so I thought I would be a little festive and get this thing kicked off well. But just want to say I appreciate you all joining. We have less than 2 weeks left in 2025, which is pretty crazy. And the fact that you guys are here investing in yourself and really wanting to get curious about what's possible in 2026. I will preface this and start by saying I typically go into every year relatively optimistic about the year ahead. But 2026 feels like a kind of a similar to 2019 or 2012. And to me, and I've been doing this for 20 years now, I think that 2026 is the most opportunistic year that I've ever experienced, mainly because there are a lot less mortgage professionals, and the ones that are still doing it at a high level are very, very few. Real estate professionals, builders need us more than they ever have in this market, in this environment. And it's really easy to stand out in challenging markets and higher rate markets and lower productivity markets than it is when rates are 2 to 3%, because you just need a mortgage professional to show up at that point. What we're going to do today is we're going to go through what you really need to focus on in 2026, what you need to drop, what you need to stop doing, what you need to redesign, and then what you need to double down on. We'll get started. I do believe that if we get this year, it will be the springboard or the launching pad to the best next decade of your entire career. And yes, that includes the pre-recession years. And yes, that includes 2019, 2020, 2021. It's just a very different opportunity today than it was back then. And it's also a more sustainable one. So you guys will hopefully get a really good blueprint from this as we go. One thing I would encourage you to do, as always, is connect with me on Instagram and definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel. All of these are going to be posted on YouTube, past content, a lot of short clips, a lot of stuff that I put out into the world on Instagram. And again, I want to encourage you, don't just follow or like or comment. Actually take that in information and share it as well. Do your own videos with it. I don't care if you say the exact same thing. It's just that we need to start putting out different content in the mortgage space and more thought leadership content, more about what this industry can become. And so I would encourage you guys to subscribe to YouTube and follow along on Instagram. And then if you really want to get next year right, scan this QR code right here. This is the Mortgage Professional of the Future assessment. And if you want to be in control of your future, if you want to dictate what the next 10 years plus holds for you in your business and not have our industry do that for you, this assessment will help you understand. It will score your business as it stands today. And it will give you a ton of clarity. And guys, these are questions that we just don't typically ask ourselves. We're not taught to ask ourselves this. We're not trained. We've never really had leadership model the type of curiosity in a mortgage practitioner's business that this self-assessment will do. And at the end of the self-assessment, you can go through it and then you can schedule time if you want to meet with me or talk through it. And I can help you leading into 2026. And I just want to be really clear. This is not a, you need to do this or you need to do that. It's just curiosity around what is possible. And then if we spend time together, I can just help you make a few small tweaks or maybe some big changes to help you in whatever way you need there. So let's dive into this. This is for any of you Mario fans. I took my daughters to Universal the other day, and there was this, like at the Epic, there was this Super Mario thing, and it was all futuristic. And I was like, I don't think they remember like the old Mario. And so I thought this would be a good analogy, is that I used to play Super Mario Brothers when I was very little, and this was my reality. But some of us are still hanging on to what worked over the last 20 years. And we have got to let go of that. And it's really challenging because what got us here was great. Like we had a playbook, we had a blueprint, it worked. It worked in 2005, it worked in 2015. It probably didn't work as well in 2025. And I promise you it's not going to work in 2026 or moving forward. So one of the things you need to do, and maybe take the next couple of weeks between now and the beginning of the year, is to really get curious with yourself and ask, am I really ready to dive into the next 10, 20 years of this industry? And if you are, you're going to have to release some things. You're going to have to let go of some things that used to work that likely won't anymore. Because there's a real reality check. You'll see the theme, right? This is an old school version of computers we used to use, the mortgage advisor has replaced the loan officer. The loan officer is dead. The mortgage advisor is here to stay. The one-to-one executioner, the person who does it themselves, the person who stays relatively in the dark on things, those are gone. So we're going to start with mindset and identity. The one you want to drop is the loan officer mindset, right? You're a business owner and you deserve to be treated like it and you have to act like it. So what do I mean by this? The loan officer shows up, funds loans, gets paid whatever their comp plan is, and expects everything to just be done for them, around them. It's really an employee mindset as opposed to a business owner mindset. And guys, as I talk about this, I'm completely indifferent if you're a broker, if you're retail, if you work for a bank, if you work for a credit union. There's ways in which you could be in those channels and still operate more like a business owner and act like it. But that mindset and the identity of I'm a loan officer has to completely go away, because you have to be in control of the next decade, not have it happen to you. And there's ways to do that. So what do you need to redesign? One of the first things that I think people need to redesign is composure. And I've seen this a lot where highs are really high and lows are pretty low. And you'll see this a lot in people's production, right? You'll see they have a really big month and then a small month and a big month and a small month, and they're super excited. And the month that they do $10 million in volume in a month, that's how they identify. But then their month when they do $1 million in a month, they still identify as the $10 million person. It's like, you can't do that, right? We have to really understand our emotions and our composure. We need to focus on data over drama. What I mean by that is don't get overly emotional about things. If 1 out of 10 real estate agents tells you no, don't think that it's not working. If 9 out of 10 tell you no, don't think it's not working. Focus on the one that did and the impact there. If you lose one client over a product or over an interest rate, it doesn't mean that the sky is falling, right? That you help 20 others. And the best business owners are going to look at the data of their business on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. We'll talk about that later in the webinar here. But focus on what's working. Don't operate by feel, operate by data first, and then create your future actions and activities based upon the data. You want to double down on your belief system here. We just did a self-assessment as part of that assessment I showed you earlier. And we asked a lot of our team on a scale of 1 to 5, rank yourself. Are you the most valuable mortgage professional to your clients and business partners? Not the most production, not anything, but just value. And it was really cool to see a lot of 4s and 5s. But when we do this assessment that I just put up earlier, a lot of times that is a 1. It's not necessarily as high as it needs to be. I almost think, and this is probably overly dramatic on my part, but I almost think if you go into 2026 with anything less than you believe you're the most valuable mortgage professional to your clients and to your partners, if you don't have that belief, just don't even start 2026. Almost wait till you get there, because everything you do, how you talk to your clients, how you talk to your business partners, how you talk to your team, how you grow, how you engage in marketing or online visibility, almost all of the things you do, it's about how you say, not what you say. Right. And if you don't believe you're the most valuable, just please take the next couple of weeks, spend time with me, whatever we need to do to get you there. But once you're there, real magic happens. Right. I can probably stop the whole webinar right here and just tell you, double down on your value proposition. When someone says, why would I use you as opposed to my lender I've used for 20 years, whether it's a realtor or a client, you need to be so ready and excited to answer that question where they feel that response. So please double down on that, if anything. All right. Next is business partnerships. We definitely want to drop the desire to be everything to everyone. So I'm going to drop my desire to be everything to everyone, and I will focus on helping 5 to 10 of the top agent teams or builders that help an average of 120 families per year. Look, I know that when most people see that, they're like, oh yeah, easier said than done. I've had 56 partnership meetings with top agents. All of them helped 75 families or more. And these are agents and builders in the last 90 days. And only 3 of them opted not to partner with us. And this is new for me, but what it did, because I used to try and be everything to everyone. And I used to try and just get a lot of business from a lot of people, because I could never really develop deep cellular level partnerships with the top agents and the top builders just because I didn't have any command of that partnership or any control of it. You have to drop that moving into the new year. If you look at real trends in our market, the market share is disproportionately moving to top agent teams and builder inventory. I have agents that I worked with for a long time that would help 20 families a year that are not even in the business anymore. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that, and you may be connecting with it in some way. But if you have questions about how to do this, definitely schedule time. And at the end of this call, which if you stay to the end, there'll be a QR code where you can just schedule 30 minutes and we can walk through some of these strategies together. What you want to redesign is your partnership engagement. What's really interesting to me is that we have a lot of business partners, and maybe not all of them help 75 or more families or 100 or more families per year, but there's almost like an expectant mindset from the mortgage industry. I know Bob and Sally and Joe and Dave, and these are all great realtors, and I expect them to refer me business. Why do you expect that? Well, because I take them to happy hour, we do lunches together, I pay for their marketing, whatever it is, right? Obviously compliantly. Those are all expectant mindsets. If you're in the habit of extracting business, we have an exact template of what to say in your weekly real estate and builder team meetings. So if you schedule time, I'm happy to share that with you. But if you have a great business partner, you need to be involved in their business every single week, and you need to extract business. Good question would be, all right, let's say there's 5 agents on a team. You're in their team meeting. Hey, what buyers did you talk to this week that said they weren't sure, they weren't quite ready, they don't know if it's a good time? Oh, I've had 4 of those. I had 3 of those. I had 2 of those. Great. Did you refer them all to me? Oh, no, because they weren't ready. They didn't say they needed a mortgage. Great. You're going to teach that for 6 weeks in a row before they start to get it. And then you're going to go to the next thing and the next thing. What homeowners did you talk to that were kind of interested in selling but didn't want to give up their 2.75 rate? Oh, I talked to him. Did you refer those people to me? No. Why? You have to teach that, right? So this is the extraction part of business. If you have the capability, if you are given the opportunity to be in front of these agents, there's so much you can extract with just a few of the right questions and creating the right awarenesses. So make sure that you're redesigning how you are partnering and the consistency in which you're training your referral partners. And then where you want to double down on being an actual business partner. Like the statement is, I will not be okay to simply be a referral relationship. I will bring as much value to the partnership as they do, if not more. If this is your orientation to a business partnership, you're going to have an incredible year next year. If you are just, really well-known, highly respected mortgage professional in your market and you have a lot of agents and maybe you're close with some and you have better relationships with others, you just have to expect to get whatever is given, as opposed to, I'm a business partner, I am entitled to X and Y and Z and so on and so forth because I'm bringing more to the equation than you are, Mr. Realtor or Mr. Builder. And I know, again, this is a muscle that most of us have either very rarely flexed or probably never flexed. But this is what is changing the game right now, right? Like agents and builders, when they understand the value of a real mortgage business partner, it's really challenging for them to not see the immediate opportunity and then lean in ways that we're likely not used to. So hopefully that is helpful for you guys coming in 2026 in terms of your business partnerships. Business development, visibility, and growth. Here you want to drop feel good work and you say, I will only focus on do good work when it comes to growth and execution. You might be asking yourself, what's the difference? Feel good work would be taking a realtor out to lunch who helps 10, 15 or less families per year. That's feel good work. Why? Because it's an agent. They can refer you some people. They have some business. But do good work would be connecting with an agent who helps 120 plus families per year, because it's the same time and it's likely the same energy. And I would even say with the right business partners, it's less energy for the higher producing ones than it is the lower producing ones. And you probably know what I'm talking about there, right? It's just the lower producing ones think they need more. They ask for more. They want your flyers. They want your time. They want you to be your open houses. The higher producing ones don't want that. They want a real partnership. And so the feel good work is I'm doing this, or I'm doing, or feel good work could be I'm chasing conditions, or I'm pre-approving my files, or I'm following up on this, or I'm doing pipeline management. That's all feel good work because it feels like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. None of it is do good work. There's really only a few things that are do good work, which is business development, client consultations and education, and influence and visibility. That's do good work. Do good is going to move the needle substantially. Feel good is just kind of, you get through the day. You were really busy that day, but if you look at, was it feel good or do good? It's probably not the latter. So again, if you want more clarity on that, there'll be a link at the end of this where you can schedule some time. And then in your calendar, you should be really clear on like do good, feel good, and you can actually color code it as well. So what are you going to do to redesign for this slide? You want to redesign your market landscape. And this is really important because everybody's market is unique and it's always different. And if I had $1 for every time someone told me, oh, Ryan, you don't understand, my market is super competitive. And it's like, okay, every market is super competitive. Every market has its ups and downs. Some markets are highly credit union. Some markets are high balance. Some markets are jumbo. They all have their challenges, which nobody's going to argue with. But don't just accept it as, okay, that's just the world I live in. So I was in Orange County my whole production career. I had a lot of high balance, a lot of jumbo, competed with a lot of banks and financial planner type referrals to other banks, discount mortgage brokerages. So I had a really hard time holding margin in that market, which everybody does. And so I had to get to new markets. So I started going an hour inland, 2 hours inland, different states, different markets. And I was able to really balance out my product mix. And I was able to balance out the demographic profile of the partners I was serving and the clients I was helping. The redesign is that I will understand the opportunities in my market and take steps to expand when necessary. Market expansion is easier today than it's ever been. And it's been that way since COVID because this is a new face-to-face meeting. People don't have to come into my office anymore and sit down and battle traffic and battle waiting for me to get down one appointment to the next. We can be in any market in the country because of this type of virtual exposure and because of the growth and connectivity of social media, the online ability for you to capture leads in different market. There's so much opportunity to expand outside of your market when necessary. If you're in a market like DFW, for example, you probably don't need to expand too far outside of that. There's a ton of market share, a ton of opportunity. But if you're in a rural 20,000, 30,000 person town and it's an hour to the next town, you got to get there, right? Because you're going to be kind of hamstrung. And then you want to double down on visibility and AI search. So this is going to help you in a lot of ways, but your statement's going to be my online profile will be optimized for AI search and incoming lead flow. I will be highly visible both online and I will be seen as the local mortgage professional of choice. This is a decision to do this. It's also a decision not to, but if you really want business development at a high level, if you want visibility and you want growth, I think it starts here. It starts with getting to the client first. It starts with lead generation. It starts with high level of visibility. So when someone says, oh, maybe I'll work with Bob, it's like, well, let's go check out Bob. You better have a dialed in online profile. It can't say that this website says they're with XYZ Mortgage and this website says they're with ABC Mortgage. So just get it all dialed in to where it's all the same. It looks the same. It feels the same. It's easy for them to understand your client testimonials. It's easy for them to watch some of your videos to hear who you are and what you believe in. And then the more all of those things converge and come together, the more you will show up in AI search, which is really Internet 2.0. And that's where everybody's moving to. They're going away from paid ads and pay-per-click and SEO. And it's just going to go towards, I'm going to go to Grok, I'm going to go to Chat, I'm going to go to Perplexity, and I'm going to say, give me the best mortgage professional in my market and why. And your online profile is going to have a lot to do with that. We sent out an entire deck on this earlier. We did a portion of this in a previous webinar. So you can go to YouTube and you can find that stuff there and reach out if we can help with it. So hopefully everybody's going to double down on that. All right. Moving next to lead generation and data. Hugely important. I always tell people this. Imagine you're not even in the mortgage industry. You're a dentist, you're an engineer, you're a teacher, and someone said, hey, I want you to invest in the mortgage industry because as rates start to come down, as inventory starts to open up, the mortgage industry is going to come back pretty strong and it's going to be really profitable for the kind of next run. What type of mortgage lender would you invest in? And let's say that you're an option You are Bob Jones, the mortgage lender. If you were an option, and if I was the investor, I would say, I'm going to invest in the company that gets to the client first, and I'm going to invest in the company that has the best technology to lower cost and create scale. Hard stop. Now, there's a million other things that you want to take into consideration, but those are the two most important things for the mortgage professional, the mortgage company, the mortgage industry of the future. Lead generation, getting to the client first, and technology that creates scalability and opportunity. So what are you going to drop? You're going to drop working off of instinct or feel. I see it all the time. How's your business? If you're working off instinct or feel, you'll just tell me how yesterday was. But if you're working off of data, you'll be able to tell me how the last 3 months was and how the next 6 months will be. So you have to track all of your numbers daily, right? And know the numbers and metrics necessary to hit your goals. Because then you're not going to have the high highs and the low lows. You're just going to see data slowly move. You're going to see big spikes. But the data will give the ability to say, okay, I need more leads. My current lead count is not sufficient enough for me to hit my goals. My current lead count is not sufficient enough for me to bring that opportunities to my builders and to my real estate agents. My current activities, my current application count, my locks, my pull-through ratios, like you'll just know it all with the right data. And then you'll know how else do I need to lead generate. So the redesign for lead generation is your perfect loan process. That my lead to 30 years after closing is dialed in and consistently executed. And I use my CRM as the dashboard to run my business and manage my pipeline. Why is this important? A lot of people who think they have a lead generation problem don't actually have a lead generation problem. They have a lead conversion and a process problem. They show up to work and they don't necessarily know who to call or why to call them or who to follow up with or what leads need to be immediately handled and what's happening here. And so if your perfect loan process is dialed in through your technology, through your team, through your systems, and you can say from the time that somebody is referred to me to 30 years after a transaction closes, it is consistently executed. And it doesn't matter if I help 10 families a month or 100 families a month. I can consistently execute it at scale with my CRM being the dashboard to run the engine. Then you can figure out lead generation and data. Because the major mistake here is turning up lead generation in whatever capacity, whether it's referrals, whether it's AI search, whether it's you buying leads, whether it's getting past clients referred into you. All those, when they increase, will turn into a major problem without the fundamentals of the business being sound. So don't just turn up lead gen without having your perfect loan process to where it can scale and execute over and over and over again. Once you do that, then double down. This is one of the most important double downs, other than maybe you're the most valuable mortgage professional. Double down on generating exclusive leads directly to you. You're generating the lead. You are getting to the client first. You are creating pre-approved buyers and interested home sellers to then take out to the market. Right. So when I tell people be the most valuable mortgage professional to your partners, that is a huge level of value. And then help them with their listings. So you're buying down their listings, creating 5, 10, 15, 20 more buyers per listing. That's generating exclusive business. There's a lot of ways to generate business as a mortgage professional. It's just that we've always been used to getting referrals for the most part, or maybe we worked in a call center and our company gave them to them. Neither one of those are exclusive lead gen. Exclusive lead gen is you, the mortgage professional, the mortgage advisor, you're getting to the client first. Again, we did a whole webinar on lead generation. We'll probably do another one early in the coming year because it's evolving and becoming more accessible for us. But again, get to the client first, then refer them to business partners. I think this is the separator of the future, because one of these days, your best realtor partner is going to show up and say, hey, so-and-so from XYZ Mortgage reached out and they said they can give me 2 closed transactions a month from a real estate perspective. Or a builder is going to be able to generate leads or close or have a better financial infrastructure. Their forward commitment is better. You don't want to be on the wrong side of that trade. So you got to double down on this in 2026. There's a lot of ways to do it, some better than others. But again, schedule time with me at the end of this call with the QR code, and I can talk to you about some of the ways which we're doing it and other people are doing it that are seeing some success. All right, next is financial awareness. Mortgage professional of the future is going to drop being in the dark. All right, so your statement is, I'm going to drop allowing myself to be in the dark on the total economics of my business. I will be fully aware of and responsible for every dollar of revenue that is generated on the loans I do. Again, this is agnostic to whether you're a broker, a banker, whatever your orientation to the industry is, whoever you've chosen as a business partner, whether you partner with wholesalers, whether you partner with a broker, whether you partner with correspondent, independent mortgage bank, I don't really care. What I do care about is that you are never in the dark on the total economics. You'll be fully aware of them. You'll be responsible for them, and you'll be able to participate in them in a way that is appropriate, that you believe is equitable and fair. I'll say this for the 9 millionth time. I'm by no means telling anybody that they should get a larger piece of the pie. I'm telling people that they should get an appropriate piece of the pie for the value they are getting, knowing that you need a business partner to invest in technology, resources, scalability, team building, lead generation, so on and so forth. So if you're in a world where you pay $500 per loan to your company or whatever the case may be, then please do not expect anything at all from them. But the flip side of that is if you're at a mortgage bank and you're making 100 basis points and have no idea how much they're making, but it happens to be a lot, you better get everything from them and more. So just having the awareness, having the understanding will help you make those decisions. But being in the dark, whether you're a broker in the dark on wholesale economics or a banker in the dark on retail economics, neither one of those are okay. And allowing yourself to stay in that world for 2026 is a huge red flag. It is a danger zone. And the people that don't understand economics will get replaced. You just won't be able to have the firepower that you need to understand how to maneuver for the next decade. So the redesign is your economic partnership with your company. Again, agnostic to the type, to the business channel, but the statement is I will have visibility into the total economics, including capital markets revenue for all the wholesale broker people out there, because you don't have visibility into that. You can, if you ask for it, all of which will allow me to run the most successful and financially viable business possible. So again, people, I'm not saying get all the money. I'm not even saying that you need to use the money in certain ways, but you need to use it in a lot of ways. To be able to buy down a listing 2 points with your real buy down, to then be able to generate 20 more opportunities from each listing, you need the right financial economic model to do that. To be able to invest capital markets back into growth, into visibility, into AI, into your technological advancements, you need the right capabilities to do that. To hire the right teammates, to be able to scale to help 100 families in a month, you definitely need the right economics to do that. One of the statements that you should make that I love being able to make is to say, I will never not have the best price in the mortgage industry. I got to pause on that. I don't mean the best rate. I said the best price. So if I know without a shadow of a doubt that I always have the best price, then anytime I ever run into a problem where someone has a lower rate, that's just a margin problem. That's a competition problem. And I can handle margin problems all day long. I cannot handle price problems because a price problem is out of my control. A margin problem is fully in my control because I can set the margin for the entire institution if I have the right model there, right? So this should be your redesign. Full visibility so you understand it, participation in capital markets, run the most successful and financially viable business possible. If you're not doing that, you could just get blindsided by the people who are, because there's just so much of an upper hand there. And then the double down, pricing confidence. I think I should probably jump the gun on this. I am 100% confident that I will never have a worse starting price than my competitors. Margin is a different story. There's someone who's willing to do that loan for $500 in total revenue because they just need to get a deal. Other people may have $10,000 in revenue in margin built into that deal. If you don't know, you can't play the game. The game is going to play you. So you have that full competition. And the other double down here is that you're aligned as an owner in the success of the company, both in profit and in equity. Because look, there is hundreds of people watching this right now. And I don't know about you guys, but when I wake up, I feel like a business owner. When I first started, I worked at a subprime call center. I did not feel like a business owner because they gave me leads and paid me whatever. But from the time I started originating my own loans, I started doing my own business development. I started doing my own marketing. I started getting out into the world, creating the business for myself and the revenue that fed my family. I felt like a business owner, but for many, many years, I was not treated like one. I was treated like an employee because an employee has no benefit as the company grows. So as the company grows, it actually is a detriment to me if I'm not an equity owner. And if I don't have full visibility, right, then they're just going to pay me whatever they want to pay me. And I have to sell whatever they tell me to sell from a rate or product perspective. You are likely on this call, you're likely an entrepreneur. You're likely a business owner. You got to start demanding to be treated like it because that's going to give you confidence to really go take market share, to make a bigger impact, to invest in the value of your business. It all feeds on each other. But if we go into 2026 with yet another year of, I guess I'm just going to do whatever the company says, I guess just, it's not appropriate. All right. Next, technology systems and processes. So again, lead gen tech, throw finances in there, throw value in there. There's a reason we're going through each one of these things. But if you're going to bet on the future of the mortgage industry, you would be foolish to not bet on the people, the teams, the organizations that have the best technology systems and processes. So what are you going to drop? Please, for the love of all things, please drop your desire to build and execute technology and systems your own way. It's crazy, right? There's little things you can do here and there for your business that are great. But if we're talking about like high level CRM, if we're talking about high level LOS, we're talking about deeply embedded agentic AI, we're talking about AI searchability to get into the right channels to be found. There are billion-dollar companies that are creating this. Like companies that have more money than any of us know what to do with are working on this problem. If Bob, the loan officer, is also working on this problem, it's crazy. Do you think he's going to keep up? Do you think he's going to solve for the future in any way that these companies aren't? And so as opposed to your desire to say, well, I don't have good things, so I must build them. I must create them. I need to go create all my own stuff. That's crazy. Like you're not a technologist. You're not an AI specialist. You shouldn't be. You don't need to be. You're a mortgage professional. You're a mortgage advisor. You're a team leader. You're a branch leader. You're a division leader. You're a company owner. That's where your focus needs to be. So the company that you work with will have the best in class tech and systems, and they will use your input to continually improve upon it. It's a co-creation mechanism, right? Where they have a certain tech stack and a certain tech roadmap. You will absolutely influence it with what you're asking for and what you see and what you learn and what your awarenesses are. But if you're the one having to build it, who's running your mortgage practice while you are a part-time technologist? It's got to be a switch there. You got to drop that and just say, look, I wasn't put on the planet to learn AI and build my own processes and systems and tech. I was put on the planet to help people become more generationally wealthy through real estate and finance and liability finance, right? This is the shift in 2026, like just real clarity on who you actually are and where your time needs to be spent. So the redesign, your frame is my tech-enabled process will be redesigned. My technology allows our team to help more families while allowing all of us to focus on the most important aspects of the transaction. Guys, this is not just you. This is your loan specialist. This is your credit analyst. This is your production partner. This is your client success manager. This is your underwriter. It's your closer and funder. It's all of the roles and you as the mortgage advisor. Every single person I just mentioned should be able to help 2x to 5x to 10x the number of families next year, but only with the right tech-enabled process. And I know that this is frustrating because it may not be a reality today, but the pace at which these things are changing, the advancements that are being made here, money that's being invested, it's happening at such a high level that you have to make this a huge focus of yours in terms of redesigning what this looks like for all of those different roles and responsibilities. Because again, if you're going to help 100 families in a month, you're going to have multiple of all those team members that I just mentioned, right? And they all need to be able to scale up and scale down without hiring and firing and worrying about what rates are doing. So make sure that your redesign of your tech process is really strong. And the double down is actually going to be post-closing value and process. This has to do with technology, has to do with systems, has to do with team, right? But the statement is we have a consistent, scalable, and extremely valuable post-closing process that helps us be the most valuable mortgage professional possible. So when I ask, are you the most valuable mortgage professional? Rank yourself, right? In that assessment that we showed, this is probably 60%, if not more, of the reason why you would answer that question yes, right? If without a shadow of a doubt that you are helping people go from someone who owns a home to really successful, well-rounded, generationally wealthy homeowners through your proactive advice, guidance, goal setting, planning, then there's nobody who's more valuable than you. But again, you got to double down on it through technology, systems, and processes. And spoiler alert, this is what next month's webinar will be on. And I'll show that here towards the end of the webinar. Okay, next is going to be team and leadership. So what you want to drop, your sense of control and necessity to do it all. This is a plague on our industry. It is a plague on our productivity. It is a drain on our emotional energy, the way that we show up for the world. There's so many people, I don't know, for some of you who were on the last webinar last month, I talked about helping 100 families in a month, and somebody typed in, they said, I'm doing 5 a month right now. If I did 10, I would crawl into a hole. That's probably a pretty common consensus belief, right? But that only happens if you have a desire or a sense of control to do all the things. So the statement is, I will build my team that allows me to stay in my genius zone, which is high level return on energy and investment. And then I will empower them to grow and take on more. It's got to be everybody's shift in the year ahead, because I see so many people that are like, oh, I want to double my business in 2026. Okay, well, what is your team going to look like? I don't know. It's literally the first thing you need to know. Right? So that's the redesign. The redesign, after you've done this, is your team structure, your roles and your responsibilities. So statement, in order to create consistency at scale, and we will have a clear path for exactly who to hire, when, what they do, what they stop doing, who trains them, who leads them, how to pay for them, and what their vision for the future is. Team, that is a lot to take in that I just said right there. It is crazy to me, always has been since the day I joined this industry, that there is not an MBA or a business school to be the best mortgage professional, to run an incredible mortgage business. It's been 50, 60 years since mortgages have been like at the level that we've been doing them. And still, there's not one way to do it. There's not a consistency. If you are the one who has to figure all this out, like just imagine, now you want to double your business, but as you're working on biz dev and visibility and social media and partnerships and value proposition and technology and finances, as you're focused on all those things, you also have to then know who to hire, when to hire them, what's their job responsibility, what do you and your team stop doing that they will do, who's going to train them when they come on board, who's going to lead them when they come on board, how are you going to pay them, and then what vision do they have for what's next in their career advancement? It's the biggest miss in mortgage leadership. If you have a team of people and you want to really get hit over the head with this, go ask your team, do you know exactly what is on the horizon for your career advancement? Whoever is on your team, ask them that question. 99.9 times out of 100. Not really. Not unless you do a lot more loans. That is a pretty awful place to be in. It would be awful for me because I don't work for today. I work for tomorrow. So if you want that clarity, start asking yourself those questions or asking those questions of your team. And then the double down here. Double down is on leadership. As a leader, I will stay in my lane and help others do the same. I will also create a vision for each member of my team that helps them with their career path and trajectory. Focus on being a phenomenal leader. Take leadership training. Go to Jocko's Musters events. Read Extreme Ownership. Learn about L360 and their signature program. There's a lot of great leadership capabilities out there. And if you want some advice or guidance from me, again, you can scan the QR code and I can help you with that. But leadership is about creating new leaders. It's not about making a ton of money or doing a bunch of loans. Being a phenomenal leader means that the next segment of the people on your team are awesome leaders for the next segment, and they create incredible leaders. That's how amazing organizations are formed. But you have to have a vision and a trajectory for each team member that far exceeds the position they're in today. And that means you as the current leader, you need to scale up so they can scale up. Otherwise, it's Groundhog Day for them for the next 30 years. And nobody wants that. Like, you'll lose good people if they don't see a very clear future for themselves. And then the last one here is community. And then we're going to open it up for some questions and give you guys an opportunity to schedule some time. So what you want to drop is your lone wolf mentality to the business. So many people out there are just like, oh, I'm on an island. I like it that way. I'm sorry, but that is BS. We are literally, like, human beings are created with cognitive community as is one of the most important parts of our DNA. You don't see a lot of individuals roaming around out there by themselves. It's no different in our industry. So your reframe is, I will put a huge value on collaboration and masterminding within my internal group as the most valuable guidance and coaching available. What do I mean by that? Weekly company-led trainings or best practices or collaborations or masterminds, those have to be the most valuable thing that you attend. Because you can watch someone at your company or that has the same exact technology, systems, processes, finances, everything the same. You can watch them say what they're doing and you can implement it tomorrow, which is very different than being in a external coaching or mentorship community. When you hear from 50 different people at 50 different organizations with 50 different financial structures and technologies and capabilities, and then you have to figure out how to take it from there and then shoehorn it into your business. It's crazy, right? So don't be a lone wolf and focus on collaboration and masterminding within your organization, because you can all execute much faster that way. You all have the same stuff. So the redesign is going to be your community. Your mission for the future of the mortgage industry will be aligned with your company and all the teammates within the company. Work with patriots, not mercenaries. Mercenaries are there because they got a paycheck, they got a sign-on bonus, they got promised X, they have overrides of Y. But if you ask them fundamentally what their focus is, 100 different people at one company, you'll get 100 different answers. You want to be in a community of people that are surrounded, that believe what you believe, that are working towards a shared mission or opportunity, right? That everyone's paddling in the same direction, trying to solve the same problems together. That redesign is going to be incredibly powerful. And then the double down is going to be on finding or creating community. So I will get tactical, emotional, and energetic value from the company I'm partnered with in tech, value prop, team, scale, collaboration, ideation, business partnership growth, lead gen, mastermind leadership. Effectively everything that I just said in the last 47 minutes, you're going to get from your community. If you're not, find a better community. Like, it should be a non-negotiable. It is a double down that will not only help you do more, but it'll help you feel better and be more fulfilled and inspired with what you're doing. And man, I can't tell you how many mortgage professionals lost fulfillment that was somewhat artificially propped up by income, but they definitely lost inspiration. So many people I talk to, well, I don't know how much longer I want to do this, or I think it's a couple of years before the robots take our jobs, or blah, 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 blah. It's like, goodness, man, like, why are you even here? You're not surrounded by people that are filling your brain with opportunity and the capabilities that we have. And the next decade is going to blow away the last 20 years. I promise. It's not even going to be close. But you won't feel that way if you're not around people that are acting that way. So double down on community. It's going to be incredible. All right. So we're going to open up for questions here in a second. But before I do, just to know, January 2026 topic, post-closing value versus loan servicing. I'm sure a lot of you saw UWM bought a massive servicer. You know that Rocket bought Mr. Cooper, and one of the big servicers, I'm drawing a blank on the name, bought Guild. So all of these huge mortgage companies are partnering with huge servicing companies. And they have, in my opinion, a false belief in the value that creates. Because as I talk to mortgage professionals across the country and mentor and coach them, they have a false equivalence of value when it comes to servicing a loan. A servicer is a debt collector. It's a payment processor. Hard stop, right? Now, the benefit is they get notified if there's a payoff, or they get notified on a credit trigger. They're one of the only companies that be notified in a credit trigger, because those will be gone. That is a reactive level of value. What we are going to show in January 2026 is a proactive post-closing value, whether you service the loan or not. Right? If your company services a loan, great, but you sure as heck better have an incredible post-closing value. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. The runoff is still going to be there. I personally don't put any value in loan servicing whatsoever. I put all the value in our post-closing proactivity, consistency, and our process because I've seen the results that creates. And so make sure third Thursday of every month in 2026, we're going to continue our webinar series, but third Thursday in January, if you want to know how to be the most valuable mortgage professional, show up to this one. And then lastly, if you want to jumpstart 2026 in a way that is hyper meaningful, that gives you a ton of inspiration and energy, and you want to go through any of the things we just talked about today or any of the past webinars, you have questions, you can scan this QR code here where you can schedule time. It's 30 minutes, and I'm happy to help you with whatever it is you want to talk about, any of those different categories. We can work through strategies and ideation to help there. Let's see. Can you speak more on how to gain traction online? Yeah. So Bethany, great question. Online traction is going to be a product of putting out really valuable information. To have online visibility, you have to have consistency in what you're posting. The stuff that you post needs to be hyper valuable. It should be highly focused on your client or your business partner or your community as the hero. You're just the guide. I see far too many people putting stuff out there that talks about how great they are. Nobody cares. You want to talk about how you're helping others win, how you're helping other people accomplish their goals. It's a highly connectable way of putting information out into the world. And then honestly, I think you need a team. Highly recommend Plug and Play social media. Deborah Bird and her team do incredible work there. A lot of what you see in my online world is from that team. So there's a lot of ways, but we did a whole lead gen and visibility webinar. So if you want to go into our YouTube channel, you can find that there and then connect if you have any questions. Dan, appreciate the feedback. This is 100% agree with what you gave. Awesome. If we can help with any of it, let me know. Crystal says, is it possible to get a replay? I've been on the whole time, but I'd love to rewatch in the evening. Yes, this should be live on YouTube, on the YouTube channel, probably at the latest by tomorrow. So feel free to just check our YouTube channel tomorrow. This should be up live, and I'm sure a lot of people will probably want to watch it back. I don't know if you'll be able to do it this evening, but depending on how quickly the team can get it done. And then if you have questions, again, scan that QR code. We can spend some time. Anonymous attendee, what do you think about trying to do a startup like Morty rather than working for other companies so you can make your own decisions about your business? Look, I believe more in partnership than I do in starting my own business. Even to the point when we started Neo in 2020, we went through that whole process. Should we start a company? Should we partner? Should we start a brokerage? Should we do this, that, the other? There's a lot of opportunity costs that come along with starting a company. There's the fact that you're going to start with limited products, limited pricing capability, limited state, limited licensing. There's just going to be some inherent limitations to startup world. Whoever the autonomous attendee is, if you want to schedule some time, I'm happy to go through kind of our process in terms of what we did, how we did it, what we looked at. Because if your goal is to grow something very substantial and massive in the industry, yeah, I would say that's probably it. If your goal is to help a lot of families and make a good living and own a part of the company you're a part of, then there's a lot of great opportunities out there for that as well. I would encourage you to get some consultation and advice before you go either direction. I don't know what Morty is. I'm always a fan of entrepreneurialism because that's what you are today. Let's see. John is saying, I'm with a large lender. Can you give me some guidance on how to develop a team within the existing team? Yeah, John, absolutely. We did an entire webinar on team building in scale with job descriptions, who does what, how to do it. The thing that you're going to have to really understand is your economics. And so being with a large lender, you need to make sure that you negotiate your economics in a way that gives you the ability to invest in that type of team and that infrastructure and that growth. When I used to work for one of the largest lenders in the country, and I had a 24-person team just for my production, and then about 120 people in our group as a whole. So you definitely can build awesome things, large lender. You just need to make sure you have the economics so you're not margin compressed in a way that's challenging. Ed says, you mentioned AI as being the new search tool. Can you speak a little more on this? I would love to. We only have 4 minutes left, and I want to be cognizant of people's time. But just go, like, go to ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever AI you use, and just say, I'm thinking of buying a house. I want to get pre-approved. Who's the best local mortgage lender for me to talk to? Or you can even take out the word local and just put mortgage lender. If you want to get more specific and find out where you are versus others, put local mortgage lender. You could even test it and say, who's the best individual mortgage professional? You can really play with it and see what's coming up and why. And then in one of our webinars, we talk about, we actually have a whole deck on what you need to do to be the most AI search friendly lender. And if you want to just reach out to it, you can just direct message me on Instagram and we can shoot you over that. Just put your email address and we can send you over the AI deck for how to do that. Hopefully that will be helpful. Scott is saying, what is the number one thing you use in your tech stack you can't live without? Scott, for me, it's hard for me to share openly because we're the only people that have it. So our LOS is called Tin Man. Our AI built inside of Tin Man is called Betsy. The stuff that it's doing is mind blowing, but that doesn't really help anybody outside of our organization, which is why I hesitate to talk too much about it. But I would say for anything not proprietary, I think Lendware is a CRM that is doing some pretty incredible things. It used to be called Adium, but I think Lendware is the up and coming kind of CRM of the future that has a lot of open source capabilities and like high end connectivity that you don't need like full overhauls to make it more personal for your business. So I would encourage you to check that out. Crystal, which team did you mention is doing your socials? That is social media plug and play. Deborah Bird, she's actually typing an answer right now. She could probably put that information in there. Reach out to Deborah Bird on that and social media plug and play. Mike says, Ryan, thank you for all the tips. Any insight you would give a new lender in a small area, 100,000 people in the population? I'd like you to go to the next city idea, anything beyond that. Yeah, so Mike, this is just a product of understanding your market. 100,000 people in a population is pretty good. It's not Orange County or LA or San Francisco or Chicago or any of that kind of stuff, but you can get some decent saturation in a market size like that. The question would just be, how close is the next metro? How close is the next large metro? And what are your capabilities in all of those markets, right? How can you lead generate there? How can you create partnerships there? How can you market yourself there? So there's a lot of interesting concepts around that, but that would probably take a little bit more one-on-one. And then anonymous attendee, how do I know I have the best price? If you guys are not already, just shoot me an email, ryan.grant@neohomeloans.com. We published the 2 weeks, we published the best correspondent, like independent mortgage bank raw price on every product compared to the absolute, all the top 100 wholesalers in the country and their raw price. All you have to do is compare raw price to raw price and you'll know if you have the best price. And then after that, it's just a margin play. And so you just need to understand your margin management, your margin control, the margin you need to run your business. But nobody should ever have a better price than you. The only time that will happen is if you're working with a wholesaler that has increased their prices, or if you're working with a retail company that has a greater than normal corporate spread, or they don't let you participate in capital markets. Just email me. Happy to send out anybody. You can just be added, and every 2 weeks, you'll get that sent out to you. And we have a video that breaks all down that information as well. Another message from Crystal. You also mentioned another CRM or mortgage tool, not Lendware, but before that, I think it was MLO something. Don't know what I was referring to there. It used to be called Adium. Now it's called Lendware. That's the CRM that I would encourage mortgage professionals of the future to use. But Tin Man and Betsy is what we use internally for our LOS, POS, pricing engine, decisioning engine, AI automation, all that kind of stuff. But again, that's not an open market thing. Can't really help a ton of people with that. Okay, we are about a minute over. Just want to say thank you to everybody here. I cannot tell you how much it means to me that you are focusing on your success in 2026. My goal, as it has been for the last decade in this business, is to just get rid of all of the non-valuable people who sell debt and sell rate and just try and sell loans. And the fact that you guys are on here coming into the holidays, focused on creating a better mortgage industry with higher level mortgage professionals, with higher levels of financial literacy and business acumen, it just means the world to me. So I just want to say I'm grateful. Thank you. I want to help every one of you in any way that I can. So as long as there's time on the calendar, please feel free to take it. And hopefully you guys have an incredible holiday with your families and friends and loved ones. Have an amazing new year. We got a couple weeks to dial everything in, and then it is all green lights, foot on the gas. 2026 for the next decade will and should be the most life-changing, business-altering decade of your career. And we are excited to help in any way we can. So thank you guys, and look forward to seeing you next month. Talk soon.